We foraged some herbs in an unusual place today, and I want to share with you some extreme foraging. You might be surprised where we foraged our herbs today. Thank you for joining me. We are at our friends here at Habitat for Humanity. We stopped by the store today to look through it, and look what they have in their outside planter. And of course, we asked if we could harvest these, and she said yes. So we'll be harvesting some of these dandelions. We know nothing's been sprayed on these. And remember, you can forage in different places. They didn't mind us taking these dandelions at all. I want to get as much root as I can. We'll leave all the soil for habitat. Or just take the roots. I couldn't have done better if I had grew these myself. These look like excellent specimens. Well, here I have the foraged dandelions here in my sink. Donald and I had a few things that we had to go do, so I didn't get right to these as soon as I brought them in. I had to bring them in and just put them in ice waters. They're in water down here. And while we were gone, we had some of the flowers to go ahead and turn into little seed pods, and you know what happens with the dandelion when you've got these, so I've got to be careful with these. I'm just going to snip them off, and I'm going to put them in a envelope and save the seeds, because you know I'm going to spread some dandelions. I don't mind them in my yard, and then I'm going to process these greens. I'll show you how I process these. I've got a colander over here, and I'm going to wash these just like you would any kind of greens. Any kind of greens that you would harvest out of the garden, dandelions are the same. Now, dandelions are a bitter green. There's a whole list of wonderful things, wonderful properties about dandelions. I'm just going to snip off these seeds. I'll put them in a little cup and save them, because I'll just take them somewhere and spread them right back out somewhere. So we'll have more dandelions to harvest in another area. And then I just clip off the stems and the flower petals, because I won't be needing them for what, I'm making here. I've just got to get these cleaned up. Here you can see is the root, so I'll be harvesting the root, and I'll have to soak these and clean these further. I just stuck them down in this water so they would keep well until I got them, was able to process them. So we harvested them. I brought them here and put them in ice water, and then I had to run around and do a few other things. We had to get some other things done. I couldn't immediately work on them because, you know, I foraged these. I happened to come across these, Donald and I did, when we visited Habitat for Humanity. I've got a few things just to talk to you about. Now, you want to make sure before you forage anything that you know exactly what you're foraging, that you're familiar with by doing research or by being taught and educated on what to forage and what is good. Now, dandelion's a very common herb, very common thing to forage. Most people have these even in their front lawns, in their backyards and lawns. And the thing most commonly used is the root and the leaf. And of course, that's the medicinal uses. The flower, a lot of people make a jelly out of the flower, and that is a real treat. They say it tastes like honey. I think it tastes like honey too. It's pretty good. I think the most common way I use dandelion is to eat the greens and to make tea from them, from the roots and the leaf. Now, I've got a book here. Let me share it with you. I've done a little research on dandelions because it's something that I like to use and I like to know about. I'm going to do a little haul for y'all, showing you where I was when I wasn't able to process the dandelions when I first got them here. I was out doing something else. But right here, I've researched this book. This is a book that I love to go back to. It's got a lot of medicinal herbalism, the Science and Practice of Herbal Medicine by David Hoffman. And this is what I refer to, a lot of herbs for knowledge in the medicinal area. Now, dandelions are not just medicinal, they're also a really good food source, a really healthy food source because they're high in potassium. But the actual name for dandelions, and I may botch some of this, I may not pronounce a lot of things right, but I'll just share with you what I can, what I felt like was important on sharing with you about these dandelions. Dandelions are a common, some people call them weeds, common herb. Most everybody know what a dandelion looks like, know it by its leaf, its flower, and by the seed pod, the little seed pod that you blow when you're a kid to make wishes on. That's how it's most commonly known. Now, it's the Taraxacum officinale. That's the name for a dandelion, and it's in the Asteraceae family. The parts most commonly used are the root and the leaf. And this tells you all the good things about the constituents, tells you about what this is made up of. And these are the things that I wanted to highlight with you. Dandelions are diuretic, hepatic, cholagogic, antirheumatic, laxative, tonic, and a bitter. Of course, I knew they were bitter, and they taste bitter, but they're really good for you. Now, the dandelion leaf is a powerful diuretic with an action comparable to that of the drug furosemide. The usual effect of a drug that stimulates kidney function is loss of vital potassium from the body, which can aggravate any cardiovascular problem. That's a serious problem. If you got a cardiovascular problem, you want to be careful about whatever you take that may be present. Dandelion leaf, however, is not only an effective diuretic, but also one of the best natural sources of potassium. It is thus an ideally balanced remedy that may be used safely whenever diuretic action is needed, even for water retention related to heart problems. Overall, this herb is a most valuable general tonic and perhaps the best widely applicable diuretic and liver tonic. Now, this is what it tells us in this herbal book about that dandelion, and that's exactly what I harvested it for. I harvested that dandelion because I wanted to use it as a tea to help my liver function. It is one of the best things that you can use to actually cleanse your liver. This is a reference book that I often use whenever I'm wanting answers to an herb. Now, dandelion's no new thing. We've used that for years. Grew up eating that, so a dandelion is no new thing to us. Very familiar with it and very familiar with its good properties. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut the roots off, and I'm going to lay the roots over to the side, and we'll wash them in a minute. And when I cut off the roots, I'm just going to go ahead and put the greens right over here. I'm going to take the stems out. Nobody knows your body like you know your body. If you are trying to introduce anything new, if you're not sure how you'll react to it, make sure you always seek a health care professional. Let them know what you're doing and get that sound advice if it's not something you already know something about. Well, I'm cleaning out these dandelions. I'm getting anything foreign material out of it, anything maybe like a pine needle or a leaf. There's some things. Here's a leaf. We want to take that out. The stems we're going to take out. And we're just going to put the leaves right over here to be washed. I'm going to put them right over here in the strainer. And that's just how I'm going to go about cleaning these up, is picking out the stems, the things that I won't be needing. Now these stems do have kind of like a milky latex-like juice in them. These are not weeping too much, but you can see that kind of white, latexy like liquid that's here in the middle of them. I'm just going to go about, I'm going to harvest these roots and pick through these greens and just keep doing that until I get this whole bowl cleaned up, like you would any kind of plantain or any kind of salad that you might pick out of your garden. You know, you would do the same thing. And then I'll lay these over here to be washed in the colander. Doesn't take that long to do this. It's not really time consuming when you know what you're looking for and you know what you're doing. You just kind of work through it and process it as you go. We'll have to clean these roots up a little. It'll take a little more work to clean the roots up than it does the greens here. While we were harvesting or salvaging, foraging for these in an unexpected place, we were foraging for these right there outside of the Habitat for Humanity store that we shop at. We had a couple that came up to us, Dolly and Jim. Hi, Dolly and Jim, if you're watching this. And they were fascinated that we were harvesting these dandelions right there out of the Habitat for Humanity's little garden, raised beds that they had outside there. They just thought that was awesome. And then we were telling them what we were going to do with it, and that if they wanted to see us do that, they wanted to see me prepare these, they could watch the channel and they would see what I did with these dandelion leaves and roots. So Dolly and Jim, if you're watching this, I enjoyed talking to you. I didn't get to talk to you as long as Donald did. I had to take a family phone call. But I did get to talk to them for just a little bit. Very nice, very pleasant people. I hope you're watching, and I hope that you are thrilled to see what we do with the dandelions that we foraged out from the raised beds there at Habitat for Humanity. Now, don't be afraid to ask people, you know, if you can forage. If you see something that, you know, is not a planted plant that they have there for their aesthetics, you know, in their garden, in their landscape, for their business, you know, you don't want to ask for anything like that. But if you see a wild edible that you can forage and eat that you know that they're not going to want, I did ask the girl back behind the counter if they had been sprayed with anything, and she reassured me that they had not been sprayed with anything. So I could feel confident in knowing that I could harvest these and they would be perfectly okay for me to clean them up, process them, and go forward with them from there. Most people are kind of fascinated by it, or they may think you're a little crazy. You might be labeled in the crazy realm of things if you're asking people for their weeds. They may not understand what you're doing, but they won't. Most of the time, they won't care. And so you got to risk being a little out there sometimes. But if you can explain to them why you're doing it, which I did, I told them it was one of the best things for your liver, and we know that. We just read that in our medicinal herbalism book by David Hoffman. We just read how it is not one of the best, if not the best thing for a liver. And so that was wonderful to know. We did our research and we know what we got here. And now what I do with most of these greens, normally I would make me and Donald a salad. I might even fry these greens in a frying pan with some bacon fat or something like that. Maybe even some oil, avocado oil. I would fry these after I got them good and cleaned, and you can eat them that way. You can cook them. You can have them as a fresh salad. Now, it may be an acquired taste as a fresh salad. They may have a little, they are bitter, so you may taste that. But that's so good for your body, and it's something that we are really missing in our diet. We are all oriented towards wanting something sweet, but that's not necessarily the best thing for our diets. So bitter greens are excellent for your body. So many minerals, so many good things in a bitter green. And that's one of the reasons we even tackle this. One of the reasons we even attempt, look at those nice roots on these dandelions. Now I have the little short dandelions in my garden. I mean out here in my yard and in around the where I usually forage for dandelions. I very rarely get a beautiful specimen as we found in that Habitat for Humanity flower bed. I think she thought I was joking with her about the weeds out there. I think she thought, I was teasing her because there was weeds in the flower bed, but no, I was interested. I was interested in harvesting these dandelions because of the great benefits that it has for your body. Now you can see these, look how long these are. These are huge, tall dandelions. Excellent for foraging and eating. A lot of them were low to the ground and not very big. But these were just beautiful, beautiful specimens. Long, beautiful, and beneficial. Very beneficial. This seems like it's taken a long time because I'm taking the time to show you what I'm doing. But really it just takes a few minutes to prepare these. Taking off the stems. I'm cutting the root off because I'll be processing this root in a different way than I do the leaves. The majority of this, I am just going to go ahead and wash it really good and then dry it out for tea. That's how I'll use the majority of this dandelions. But they were good enough. They were beautiful and well developed and grown and healthy looking, and they hadn't been sprayed with anything. They were organic. We foraged for these and found these. They would have made a great salad. In fact, I may even take a few of the best groups of these dandelion greens and go ahead and save them and put them in a bag. After I've washed them really good and shuck off most of the moisture, I'll put them in a bag just like you would any kind of other green. And I might just go ahead and bag these up and have them tomorrow as a salad. It would be good. would be a good salad. These greens are pretty enough, healthy enough, but they would make a great salad. So I may just go ahead and do that. But I'm going to go ahead and process these so you don't have to watch me wash all of these. You'll know what I'm doing here, and I'll catch up with you in just a minute. I'm getting down here to the bottom of what I've got here in this bowl, still picking and taking out the undesirable and leaving the good part of the dandelion, just like you would any kind of green that you harvested out of your garden. You know, you would have to do the same thing. And look at this beautiful root. That's an amazing amount of root on this dandelion. Now this is the mess that we cleaned off. Here's all the stems and the leaves and all the stuff that we picked through and got out of our dandelions that we're not going to use. And of course this will all go in the compost pile. Now we've got our greens, our green leaves, and our roots. These are our roots over here soaking in cold water. Now it'll take me a little while. I'll have to take a scrub brush to these. I'm going to let them soak in here. And I'll have to take a scrub brush to these and get the dirt off of these and make sure I've got these roots thoroughly cleaned. And then I'll dry these roots out. And then I'll chop these roots and I'll use them in tea. That's probably what I'll end up doing with most of these leaves. I am going to take some of the leaves out to eat for a salad tomorrow. And you know, this is just as natural. If you get in the habit of foraging and knowing what you're looking for, knowing what you're eating and why you're eating it, this will become as natural to you as going out into the garden and picking any kind of green that you might pick out of the garden. Lettuce, mustard greens, turnip greens, whatever kind of collard, kale, whatever you might go out into your garden and pick. When you learn to forage and eat, know what you're picking, you will look as much forward to enjoying these kind of greens as you do anything else. Now I'm going to take the time and wash each one of these leaves thoroughly and then decide what I'm going to keep and put in the refrigerator for salad, and then I'll take whatever is going to be dried for tea, and I'll lay that out. Go ahead and get that ready to be laid out so it can start drying, and that's what I'm going to do with these foraged greens. That'll be the process that I go about deciding what to keep to eat and what to dry for tea. As you can see, there's no pest whatsoever on these greens. There's nothing that would make this not an edible green. I actually bought dandelion seeds from Baker's Creek last year, and I am going to plant those, and then I'll be processing those much like what I'm doing here. I'll be processing those to eat as fresh greens, to maybe even fry them. So I can get the good benefits that are in these greens. And of course, these are such long, beautiful leaves. They were just hard to resist out there. I just didn't want to leave them to die and not be used with all this good potassium, all these good minerals that's in these greens. I wanted to be sure that I asked and got permission. I'll be cleaning these all up really, really good here. And be adding some good bitter greens to my diet. Make tea and get the good properties. I'll also clean up these roots and be able to use those. Thank you for letting me share our foraging our extreme unusual foraging adventure with you today, and let me share with you what I do with these dandelion greens, what I do with this wonderful common herb, and how beneficial it can be if you include that in your diet. If you know a good, clean, safe place to harvest dandelions. Dandelions are found most everywhere. They're usually prolific wherever they're growing, and they can be short and tiny, or they can be big and long like these here. But if you come across some delicious looking dandelions to forage, I encourage you to do that. Of course, always do your research about your own health. Even talk to a healthcare professional if you need to do that. Do plenty of research in all kinds of areas to cross research and make sure that this is right for you. But me and Donald, we always love to forage. We forage for a lot of things. I try to include those videos for you. I read to you those beneficial things that were in dandelion that make it a great choice to include in your diet in the form of a salad green or a cooked green, and the wonderful dried the benefits it has if you dry it and make tea out of it. So thank you for letting me share those things with you today. I hope you have a great day, and like always, until next time. Got a small haul here. I wanted to share with you what I picked up. Me and Donald went to the Red Hill General Store with my sister and her husband, and we wanted to check out what they had. There was a few things that we needed on our list, or that I would like to have had, and this is one of them right here. But I'll share with you what we picked up. This is a cast iron grill press, and it's round. Now, I have the grill presses you see me use all the time when I cook, but these are square, and I needed a round one to fit in my frying pan, so I got this today. It was a little pricey to me, but it was still well worth it, so we just went ahead and splurged and got that because we know I've been wanting one of these, and it's something that I'll use a lot. I also got this blue cobalt bottle, which I really like. It's a 32-ounce bottle. It was $4.99. And I wanted to get it to maybe even put some elderberry syrup, even though I save bottles for that. I like the fact that I like the color of this, and I like this airtight seal that's on it. And so I picked that up just to have on hand for syrup or tinctures or something that I might make in that area. I got this ladle. This is a stainless steel cannon ladle. It was $14.39. And what I liked about this is the fact that it had a spout on each side. And when you're canning, that can be invaluable, can save you time, and it can help you. I have plenty of ladles. I'll show you up here on the pot rack. I have plenty of ladles. But the only ladle I had with a spout is this little one that I use to fill small jars with. And you can see it has a spout on one side. So I use that a lot for canning when I'm filling small jars, but it's really small. And what I liked about this canning ladle is it's a good size and will make filling the quart jars a lot easier, or even pints. You know, it'll take less time to fill them with a bigger capacity to hold whatever I'm pouring into the jar. So I got that, liked that. I got this lemon oil. I love to clean with this, love to clean the wood and other things with this lemon oil polish, and I found it there, so I picked that up. I got this canning lid rack just because I thought it would be so much easier to put my canning lids in that and set it down in boiling water so they'll be ready, but also just so they'll be easier to, they'll be corralled. They'll be easier for me to get them. Let's see how many lids does this hold. It holds 12 canning lids of any size. So small mouth or wide mouth, it'll hold both of them. And it tells you right here what this canning lid rack is for. Safely insert and remove lids from hot water. Lids won't stick together. Holds 12 canning lids of any size. Unique design allows water to circulate freely around the lids and keeps hands away from heat. A wooden handle that stays cool right here. So I can just dip this in a little pot of hot water and keep these things hot until I'm ready to use it, raise it up, and pick them out as needed when I can. So I got that because I thought that would come in handy for canning season. And then I got this little handle that goes on a cast iron pan. I have one that I use a lot that's made out of cloth. But Donald thought that this silicone one would probably offer better protection. So we got that. And it just slips over your cast iron handle like that. And it protects you. If you cook with cast iron a lot, you know how hot these handles can get and how dangerous that can be. That was only $5.99. It's dishwasher safe cast iron silicone handle holder. So that's what that is there. You can see the website here. You can't put it in the oven, that's okay. But right here, if you want to inquire about any information regarding this, right there's the website for that. Let's see if it has one here on this. I don't see one, but it's a Norpro 605 canning lid rack. That shouldn't be too hard to research and look that up to find out about this little rack. This little rack was $10.79. This little silicone handle was $5.99. It's a Lodge brand. So all in all, these are the few things I picked up. Donald picked up a lantern glass, a little replacement glass for his lantern, and he also picked up some ant, something to put out for ants. I don't know about y'all, but we've got little ants trying to move in on us because of the spring. But this is our little Red Hill haul. The few things that I got that I thought would be great and useful, and I'm looking forward to using them. Seeing if I like these, I can go pick up more if I need them. They were not that expensive, and I really like this closure. Even though the bottles that I use are fine, I just thought this was really pretty. Even if I maybe put cooking oil or something like that, it would be pretty to sit out here on the counter when I use it. Of course, this will be a safety thing, and this is very useful. So I was glad to get those today.